Ayan, so prelim topic outline, ayan, kitang-kita naman, di ba? Busog na busog ang prelims natin. So, introduction to microbiology, which is this topic, lecture 1. And then bacterial structures and function, which is lecture 2, na naibigay na rin sa inyo. Next week, we have bacterial growth and genetics. And then another week for specimen collection and handling. And first part of methods. Another week for the second part of methods, no? And then bacterial growth control methods, sensitivity testing, and mechanisms of pathogenicity. So makikita ninyong lahat yan sa ating timeline. Okay? So, okay lang ba yung mukha ko dyan? Okay, so introduction to microbiology. Bakit pa microbiology? Kasi bacteriology is a part of microbiology. So what are our learning outcomes? Why do we need to, what is expected of us? No? So at the end of the discussion, you, as the students, are expected to be able to describe the historical development of microbiology, to enumerate the development of science with emphasis on the scientists and their contributions to what microbiology is today, to explain the divisions of microbiology, and to define commonly used terms in microbiology. Okay. So ano nga ba ang microbiology? Alam niyo na 'to kasi na-discuss na 'to in PMLS 1, oh, 'di ba? So yung mga naging estudyante ko sa PMLS 1, na-cover na natin 'yan. Yung mga naging estudyante ni Sir Bong, malamang naman sigurong na-cover niyo na rin 'yan. Okay? So let's take a look at the etiology of the word microbiology. Okay? So this is made up of about 3 basic terms. Micro, which means small, bio, which refers to life or living, and logi or logos, which refers to study. So technically, microbiology is the study of small living microorganisms. At ayan sila nasa background natin. Di ba ang gaganda nila, ang cute nilang tignan. Mga totoong organisms yan, guys. Okay? Mukhang drawing pero they're actually real. Okay? So, sana lang talaga meron tayong mga ganitong microscope na pwede nating makita. Oh, di ba? Nindot kayo sila. Tanawon. Okay? So, why do we need to study microbiology? Okay? So bakit natin kailangan mag-aral ng microbiology? Tignan niyo itong pie chart. Okay? So in the pie chart, you see a really big area, maroon, which refers to beneficial organisms. Okay? So it would be good to study microbiology because there are benefits, no, to these small living organisms. And what are those? Okay? We have the normal microbiota. What are these? Okay, so microbiota are the organisms that we have inside the body. Okay, we might have been exposed to them inside our mother's womb. We were exposed to them once we went out from our mother's womb. Okay, and they have been with us since then. Okay, these normal microbiota are really important because they would provide endogenous sources of stimuli. Okay, they ensure that our immune system is alive, awake, enthusiastic. O, di ba? Tinuod bitaw. Okay? Their presence allows our immune system to always be on its toes and always be ready for battle. Okay? Nandun sila. In some cases, there are microbes that are present in our system, and at the same time, in exchange, they provide us with something that our body would need, like vitamins. No? Your E. coli, which is your main microbiota in the large intestine or in the colon, it feeds on our fecal material. Okay? So, muna nato siya border, di ba? But at the same time, in exchange, okay, it provides us with vitamin K. And vitamin K is really important in uh, hemorrhages. Okay, so it's an anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. Pantothenic acid. Okay? So, ang dami nilang benefits. Lactobacillus. Okay? Lactobacillus is a helpful microbiota. It's found in acidic areas in our body, like in our stomach, okay? Or in our gastric area. It's also found in the female reproductive system, in the vaginal area. It provides the acidic environment that would allow protection from overgrowth of other opportunistic organisms. Di ba? So, nakakatulong yan. What else? Decomposers. Some of the microbes around us are actually play a very important role in decomposing. Okay? Importante yun. Di ba? In the circle of life, importante ang decomposition. Microbes like bacteria as well as fungi are very helpful decomposers. Okay? So they feed on dead or decaying matter, decompose them into materials that can be reused by other organisms in the ecosystem. O, di ba? Para walang waste. Okay? Or malimit natin yung waste. Okay? What else? In the industrial aspect, microbes are also really helpful. Okay, so sa food industry, we are able to create a wide variety of condiments and food, right? Because of the help of microbes, like your daily pandesal. So, how do you think you're able to eat pandesal that's fluffy and soft and warm, di ba? It's of course fluffy and soft because of yeast, and yeast is a microbe, di ba? Oh, yeast is a fungal organism. It's a fungal element. Okay. What else? Fermentation is a really important process in some condiments or food, no? Like, ano ba? Yung mga dairy products, your sour cream, your cheeses, they would require some sort of fermentation para mag-curd sila, right? Uh, they're able to do that with the presence of microbes. Some cheese are able to achieve no yung distinct taste with the use of microbes, fungi. Okay? Unsa pa jud? Ah, Siyempre, 'di ba? Paano na lang yung, burger steak natin 'pag wala yung mushroom gravy sauce o gravy na sauce pa, mushroom gravy, 'di ba? Oh, so ang mushrooms natin are microbes, 'di ba? They're large fungal bodies, eh? So ang daming gamit. Also, part of industrial aspect is, uh, the use no of microbes in creating vaccines, right? So when we make our vaccines, ang most effective ay yung mga gawa talaga sa live attenuated microorganisms. Like yung ating ano no, the usual, the old um vaccines were made from live attenuated. Sinovac, no, the first vaccine created is made from using the traditional process. Pero meron naman tayong mga bagong process using mRNA, no? Mga clones, no? Pero it's yet to be seen kung really effective ba yung mga ganong klase, no? But still, we are able to create something, no, out of them. Ano pa? Mga antibiotics, di ba? O si penicillin galing sa fungal element. Streptomycin galing din sa fungal element. Okay? So, yun yung mga uses ng microbes, no? Ang daming benefits. So, what else? Of course, it's important to study microbiology kasi kung babalikan natin ang pie chart, tamo, 'di ba? Marami nga yung beneficial, pero a small portion of that pie, etong indigo, okay? Or ano bang kulay niyan, lilac, okay? Are identified as pathogens. Ito yung mga disease-causing, di ba? When you say pathogen, disease-causing organism siya or disease-causing substance, so pathogenic. It's important for us to study microbiology because there's a small portion of them that are able to cause diseases. and harm humans or kill humans. Okay, so we need to understand, no, how they're able to cause infections and diseases. Okay, so that we will be able to create defenses, okay, against them. What else? Siyempre, no, ayan yung puti sa pie, 'di ba? Malaki-laki din yung ano, mas marami kaysa sa pathogens, yung opportunists. Ano ito? Opportunistic pathogens are actually normal microbiota. They may be found in our body, but if we have a really weak immune system, they become disease-causing organisms. Okay? So, no? Kailangan nating mag-aral ng microbiology to understand opportunistic pathogens. Okay? What else? At this day and age, okay, cloning is technically a part of science already. Okay? So there are a lot of things that we use that are genetically engineered. Okay? We take a portion of viruses, a portion of the bacteria, and insert it into other organisms or food material, no, to achieve uh, a more economically stable na product. Okay? So, genetic engineering. So, that would require knowledge in microbiology kasi nga naman yung genes nila ang ginagamit natin. Okay? Now, what are the different scopes of microbiology? So, microbiology is a really large umbrella subject. Okay? And it is thankfully divided into scopes or focuses. Okay, so we have general microbiology, which would tackle everything under microbiology, but no, ano lang, parang superficial lang. And then we have medical microbiology, which is uh, our course. Okay, so ang medical microbiology would focus on medically significant microorganisms, those that are known to cause infections in humans. We also have agricultural microbiology, and you know what the focus would be. So these are those microorganisms that are significant in plant health. And then similarly, we have veterinary microbiology, which would focus on microbes that affect animals. Okay? And then we have industrial microbiology, ayan, no, yung sa mga ginagawa nating mga vaccines, ginagawa nating mga antibiotics, medicines, no, and other foodstuffs. Sanitary microbiology, okay, this is where water microbiology would come in, okay? And then we have microbial physiology and genetics for genetic engineering. And of course, we have environmental microbiology, which would deal with microbes that are present in the environment and plays a very important role in the different cycles in our no, ecosystem. Okay? So ano yung like for example for the uh, nitrogen cycle, right? So sa nitrogen cycle, may kailangan tayong ano no, yung mga nitrogen fixing bacteria, etc. no, para makatulong sa pag-produce ng nitrogen. Ayan. So ito yung mga iba't ibang scopes of microbiology. So tayo, dun tayo sa medical microbiology. So let's move forward to historical developments or the early, the beginnings of microbiology. So let's start with your Tito Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke was one of those earliest scientists who introduced us to the wonders of the microscope. Okay, he had a book named Micrographia, which is actually a sketchbook of sorts. Okay, so there he drew everything that he found interesting and everything that he found under his microscope. So he asked a friend to create a microscope, something that would enlarge, small things that he'd like to see. So ito yung microscope na ginawa para sa kanya. It's actually made up of wood, uh, some leather and metal. 'Di ba? Napaka simple, but he was able to use that and see the basic unit of life, which is the cell. Okay? So si Uncle Robert Hooke, okay? Ang dami kasi nilang Robert. Okay? So isa siya sa mga nag-initiate nung cell theory, no? So may mga kasama siyang mga scientists, no? Sila Matthias Claydon, no? Na sila Rudolf Virchow, uh, they established that all living things are made up of the basic unit called cell. Okay? At alam naman natin na siguro, no, kung bakit cell, alam naman natin. Okay? So, cell, ang tawag niya, no, he used cork bark, okay, or an oak bark, kasi yun yung pinaka-common na ginagamit as cork. Okay? So, yung oak bark, ah, iniwa-hiwa niya na very thinly, and then he put it under his microscope, and he was able to see na yung cork bark is made up of squares or rectangles, sabi niya, "Parang nakita ko na 'to." So eto kasing si Robert Hooke, medyo may pagka-engineer/architect/scientist eto, So he used to make, mga blueprints, and he used to make blueprints of monasteries and abbeys, and nakita niya parang kagaya ito nung mga, rooms, 'no, ng mga friars or abbots. So ang tawag dun 'di ba sa rooms nila is cell or selda, okay? Kasi 'di ba simple lang yung square-square lang talaga yung, rooms nila, okey? So dun niya kinuha yung term na cell, dahil dun sa kamukha daw nung blueprint 'no, na kamukha nung kwarto-kwarto sa blueprint na ginawa niya, okey? So that's the story for Robert Hooke. Now what about your Uncle Anton? Tignan nga natin yung mukha ni Uncle Anton, naka-baron ko na, ayan, 'di ba ang gara ng kulot. Okay. So, si Anton van Leeuwenhoek was considered as the father of microbiology because, no, he was able to identify the three basic shape of bacteria. Okay? Kaya lang, kaya may kaya lang, 'di ba? So siya yung pinakauna. Ano yung gamit niya? He was able to see the three basic bacterial shapes using this really, really simple single-celled microscope. Yan, ganyan lang pagkahawak ko. Gano'n lang ang gamit niya. And what did he use? He experimented on a lot of things. He experimented on his kiki, he experimented on water from the rain puddles, from the canals, ang dami niyang in-experiment, Tapos ilalagay niya lang dun sa pinpoint, ayan, isang drop ipapatong niya diyan. Yan yung specimen holder, oh, 'di ba? Oh, sa tip niyan isang drop lang talaga. Tapos titignan niya dun, sisilipin niya dun sa kanyang lens. He was able to grind his own lenses dati. Tapos tinignan niya. So ito yung mga nakita niya. Ayan, tataas ko naman yung mukha ko diyan. Ayan. So nakakita siya ng pahaba, nakakita siya ng mga gumagalaw, nakakita siya ng mga ganyan, bilog-bilog lang, nakakita siya ng kulot at yung mga mahahabang ganyan. Oh, 'di ba ang dami niyang nakita at nagkuwento siya. He wrote a letter to the Royal Society of Science in London, na meron siyang nakita. Sabi niya, "There's a city within a city," 'no? Sabi niya, "There's a world of small living organisms," and he called them animalcules, pero hindi pinansin yung kanyang letter. Okay, pinagtawanan lang, hindi siya pinansin talaga. And then it was only 40 years or several years after no nang na-realize nila na, ay sus tinuod jud ay ning giingon ni Uncle Anton. Okay? So, ah, pumasok yung transition period, 1700s, okay? So the focus at this time is the plant and animal life, or flora and fauna. Okay, and the attempt to categorize living things into which group started here. Okay, and one of those scientists who made his name by contributing to the name game, okay, is Carolus Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist who introduced the world to binomial nomenclature. Okay? O sa book niya na tinawag na Systema Naturae. There, he introduces to the taxonomic classification of organisms. Okay? Pero para madali, kasi ang dami, di ba? Parang seven. Okay? From kingdom up to species, ang dami nun. So for short, pwede na yung binomial nomenclature. Parang pangalan lang, may first name at may apelyido. Kaya lang murag inchik ni siya no kay nabali. Okay? So yung binomial nomenclature would start with the genus and then saka yung specific epithet or yung species. Okay? So siya yung nag-introduce sa atin yan. Okay? And then, no? So several years after um, Anton van Leeuwenhoek discovered the microorganism, nagkaroon na ng awayan, nagbangian, sa pula at sa puti. So, questions, no? Scientists started to question, where did we come from? Okay, saan daw tayo nagmula? So, merong mga nagsabi na, ay, we were created out of spontaneous generation. O yung mga advocates of the theory of abiogenesis, which declared that living organisms arise from non-living matter. Ito yung mga kakosa ng mga naniniwala sa Big Bang ni Anna lang daw. So karoon agad ng living cells. O di ba? Sabi, there's a vital force that forms life. No? Pero daghan man pog bright nga ni kontra jud na unsa mo? Unsa di muana lang di tapos naana dahil living form? Dili siguro, no? So may mga kumontra at yung kanila naman dun sa mga kontrabida, sabi nila, ah, living organisms might have risen from pre-existing life. Parang nag-evolve lang. Oh, ito yung mga gang ni Charles Darwin. Oh, ito sila. Kaya 'di ba, sabi nagmula daw tayo sa unggoy. Okay? Pero parang mas madali namang paniwalaan 'yun. Dahil lang sa changes in the environment, we started to shed off fur, okay? Nag-start na nag-walk straight, no? Ganyan. Parang mas madaling paniwalaan kaysa dun sa nagbangga-bangga lang ang lahat. Okay, tapos nagkaroon na agad ng mundo. Okay? So may dalawang groups. Okay? So those who advocated abiogenesis and those who advocated biogenesis or the alternative hypothesis. Agoy, nag-contest-contest na sila. No? Nag-experiment-experiment to show on sa mga tinuod. So meron tayong mga scientists, no, na nag-contribute ng ano may tawag nito, pro biogenesis and against biogenesis, no? So meron nung si Francesco Redi. He was the one who created the first real experiment to dispute abiogenesis, no? So sabi niya, dili man siguro, imposibleng magkaroon lang ng life, no? Out of nothing. Okay? So sabi niya, tignan natin kung tinuod. So kumuha siya ng tatlong jars, naglagay siya ng meat sa loob ng jars. Yung isa nakasil, okay? O yung isang set nakasil, okay? Eto, so selyado yung meat. Yung isa medyo may cover, pero net lang yun. Okay? And then etong isa bukas na bukas talaga. Okay? So iniwan niya lang yun. After some time, okay? After a few weeks, binalikan niya. Oh, so tinignan niya, ah yung closed, aba, walang magot. No, magot yung uod, 'di ba? Uod ng langaw. And then yung second na may net, may konting maggots. Okay? May konti lang na maggots. Siguro nahulog. Okay? No? Pero inulit-ulit niya yan, tapos pinilit-palitan niya yung net ng malalaking butas, maliliit na butas. Eh, syempre, nung maliliit na butas, wala nang maggots. Pero yung sa parang medyo malalaki, may mga maggots, pero konti lang. And he observed na yung mga kaya pala nahuhulog yung maggots kasi magtambay ang langaw dito sa top. Naamoy kasi nila yung meat. Okay? So while they're there, eggs might have fallen dun sa baba, no? Dahil medyo malalaki yung butas, nakakalusot yung eggs. Okay? Pero dun sa jars na bukas, okay? Walang seal, walang net. Ang daming maggots, labas-pasok ang mga langaw. Sabi niya, see? Okay? Ah, dito na close, wala namang living form diyan, walang magot, eh. Eh, sana kung totoong may vital force in life kahit na-close 'yan, magkamagot, okey? So, nag-explain siya dito, oh, may konting magot kasi nga naman medyo malalaki yung butas ng net. Dito ang daming maggots kasi bukas na bukas, labas-pasok ang langaw. So, yung living form na maggot ay galing sa labas-pasok na langaw, hmm, sabi niya, 'di ba? Pero kinontra ito, eh, sabi ng isang alagad ng abiogenesis, hindi niya tinuod, "Uy, oh, mag-experiment pa daw siya." So, nag-experiment si John Needham. So, si John Needham sabi, ah, mag-prepare siya broth, okay? So, meron siyang, broth na nilagay, niluto niya, and then pina-cool niya muna bago niya in-store. Oh, after a few weeks binalikan niya. Oh, sabi niya, "Tignan mo, may growth." Sabi niya. Pero nung nag-ano na sila, tawag nito, nagdebate na, nung pinakuwento siya kung anong ginawa niya, niluto niya na bukas, pina-cool niya na bukas, in-store niya na bukas. Eh, so, magkakaroon talaga ng maggots diyan ng tawag niyan, ng growth kasi parang nagka-molds. Eh, magkaroon talaga ng molds kasi or ng growth kasi pinabayaan mong ma-expose yung, organism ay yung iyong broth, okay? So, natalo siya, 'di ba? So, sinigundahan ni Lazaro Spallanzani. Si Spallanzani is an advocate of biogenesis. So, sabi niya, "'Di ba ganito yung ginawa mo? Oh, so nagluto ka, tapos pina-cool mo, tapos ini-store mo, pero bukas, so ayan, ang daming growth. Dapat ganito yung ginawa mo." Inulit niya yung ginawa ni John Needham. But this time, he sealed the flasks, eh. So, dapat niluto mo, naka-seal, pina-cool mo, naka-seal, at in-store mo, naka-seal, 'di ba? O di walang living form, walang, maggots or walang, fungal growth, okay? So, timing when he created this experiment, lumabas din yung, discovery 'no, nila, Laurent Lavoisier 'no, and some other scientists regarding the discovery of oxygen in air, okay? And oxygen is really important 'no, in the growth of living organisms. So see, kung abre, makasunod ang oxygen and the oxygen might be carrying and the air might be carrying with it kasi nandun yung oxygen, it might be carrying with it microbes. Okay? So, pag nakapasok yung air diyan, talagang mabubuhay sila diyan. Tapos, bukas na bukas yan. So, yung oxygen na kailangan nila, nalalanghap lang din nila. So, makasurvive sila din ha. Pero, diri, kigisarad-an man, so wala joy, mabuhi. Okay? And then sinigundahan pa ito ni Tito Luis. Eto na si Tito Luis Pastor, okey? So, si Luis Pastor, ah, ask siya ng question. Sabi niya na, ah, "Is there a life force in air that can cause microbes to develop by spontaneous generation?" Puwede di ay na 'no, na, mabuhi, by spontaneous generation. Puwede kayang, pumasok yung air na hindi sumama yung microbes, okay? So, nag-experiment din siya ng kanya kasi nga pinipilit nila na kailangan kasi makapasok ng air para mababuhay. So, dapat hindi daw i-lock, dapat hindi daw i-close or i-seal. O, di hala, mag-eksperimenta nga abri. O, ayan. Saan kilala yung mukha ko? Okay, so ang experiment ni ano, ni sino 'to, ni Louis Pasteur, eto yung kanyang gamit. So gumamit siya ng volumetric flask with really, really long neck, okay. Tapos nag-prepare siya ng broth. So parang ginaya niya rin din yung mga naging experiment ni John Needham at saka ni Spallanzani, okay. So after nun, hinit niya, okay. Pero before na itong ikinul 'no, bago niya pina-cool yung ano, yung broth, he made sure that the neck was bent. Okay, so he bent it into an S shape, no? Ah, para hindi naman direktang mahulog yung air. So hindi niya isisil yan, pero dapat hindi naman diretsong nakakapasok ang hangin. So he allowed that to be stored open, no seal. After some time, nung binalikan niya, clear pa rin ang ang solution. Why do you think gano'n ang nangyari? Okay. Remember, yung walls ng ano na 'to, nung tubing na 'to, nung, neck, may static electricity diyan, 'di ba? Oh. So yung mga yung pumapasok na air, kung may dala-dala man siyang microbes, didikit 'yan sa walls. So yung air puwedeng pumasok sa loob, pero yung mga solid particles na ano, nakadikit na diyan at hindi na nahuhulog dun sa loob, okay. So it is said that this particular setup created by Louis Pasteur is still kept in, a certain museum, 'no? Na hanggang ngayon ay gano'n pa rin ang itsura, ewan ko lang talaga kung totoo, okay. But I've read that somewhere, okay. So, to continue with the contributions of Louis Pasteur, we now enter the golden age of microbiology. So here, from 1857 to 1914, lahat ng napaka-importanting discoveries in microbiology happened within this time frame. Okay, so what are the really important milestones? So we have the work of Louis Pasteur. So aside from cementing the um, biogenesis, no, in place, na natalo yung abiogenesis. Aside from that, he was able to add more contributions, okay? And later, pag-uusapan natin yan. Okay? What else? Apart from Pasteur's work, we have the germ theory of disease. So it was established during this time, vaccination, and the production of antimicrobial drugs. Okay? So what about the work of Pasteur? Okay, so Louis Pasteur was able to identify the process of fermentation or the event called fermentation, and he was able to discover a solution, okay, to any damage that this particular process may cause. Okay, paano nangyari yun? So sikat na si Louis Pasteur, 'di ba? Kasi siya nga yung nagsabi na dili lagi tinuod ning abiogenesis dahil dun sa kanyang ginawang experiment, 'di ba? O bukas kasi ang dami ng reklamo, dapat daw hindi sealed, dapat daw bukas, o di bukas. So ipinamukha niya dun sa mga abiogenesis na dili lagi tinuod ang vital force in air. Okay? So sikat na siya. So maraming lumapit sa kanya to ask no solutions for several problems. But there were a group of wine merchants, okay, who sought his help because yung wine na ginawa nila medyo naging maasim, so hindi mabenta, eh. So, he went and examined samples of the wine, and he discovered na may microbes pala dun, eh. 'Di ba yung wine is made from, tawag nito, fruit juices from grapes usually, eh. So, merong sugar, 'no, may fructose. Now, yung microbes na galing sa iba't ibang sources, puwedeng sa nagpa-process, puwedeng sa container, they would act on the fruit sugar and produce acids, eh. That's, acetic acid ang napo-produce, 'no. That's why 'pag nangyari yun, eh, yung acid na na-produce nung, microbes when they acted on the fruit sugars would cause spoilage. Okay? Kaya nagiging maasim yung wine. So, yun yung sinabi niya. So, sabi naman nila, tulungan mo kami. How can we prevent fermentation from happening? Okay? So, he created the process of pasteurization, which would expose, no, very delicate, very sensitive materials to heat, but really, really quickly. Kasi, syempre, etong mga food material na to, napaka-sensitive niyan sa heat. Okay? Madadamage yung quality. Okay? So, very quick exposure, seconds. Okay? Para lang yun makuratan ang bacteria. And malimit yung number nila from the food material. Okay? And so, he created the process called pasteurization, which is partial sterilization by heat. Okay? So, yun yung contribution ni Kuya Luis, no? Ni Lolo Luis. Fermentation, identification of fermentation process, and pasteurization. Now, moving on to the germ theory of disease. Okay, so prior to the development or establishment of the germ theory of disease, people, okay, mistook diseases as the wrath of God. Okay, sukod ang Ginoo kay no, sungayan kay ta. Okay? Or on na demonyo ta. Okay? Or nagkaroon ng masama dahil sa mga masamang espiritu. 'Di ba gano'n 'yun sa Bible? O usong-uso sa kanila yung anong sakit na 'yon, 'di ba? Yung leprosy. O 'pag may leprosy ka niyan, eh, demonyo ka. O so gano'n daw ang reason bakit tayo nagkakasakit, 'di ba? O dahil sa ah galit ang Diyos, may masasalat ang dako, okey? So, ang hirap nung na-realize na nilang nandun pala yung mga microbes na yun na puwedeng mag-cause ng disease, ang hirap papaniwalain ng mga tao. Kang ilahang rason kagamay ana nila di man nato na makita, no? How can they cause diseases that can kill people? So, ang hirap hanapan ng connection. So, several scientists, no, uh, contributed to the development of this particular theory. Okay? So, uh, sina Agustino Bassi, sino pa ba? Even Louis Pasteur here. Ako, sang salad, ano ko na siguro, no? Okay, so si Agustino Bassi discovered a particular uh, fungi that damaged silkworms. Kasi 'di ba, during this time, 1835, boom na boom yung silk industry. And they made use of silkworms to create threads of silk. But nagkaroon ng problema kasi namamatay yung mga silkworm. And then Basi discovered na agoy gifunjay man di ay ang mga silkworm. Okay? Similarly, no, a few decades later, Pasteur also discovered this time a protozoan infection sa silkworm ulit. O, di ba? Ang daming hit na tumama sa sa silkworm industry. Okay? So, yung una may fungal infection, pagka pangalawa may protozoan infection naman. And then of course, in between, nagkaroon tayo ng mga scientists who became very particular with healthcare, patient care. Okay? So we have Ignace Semmelweis, kabarkada ito ni tawag na Florence Nightingale, 'di ba? Mga advocates of hand washing, of safe patient care. Oo, nabuhay sila ng mga panahon ng mga Civil War, World War. Ang daming mga naputulan ng paa, ang daming mga nagkasakit. Okay? So they advocated hand washing. Okay? Yung kay Ignas, to prevent spread of puerperal fever, which is very common in women of childbearing ages, no? So nadi-discover ito dun sa mga bagong panganak. So namamatay yung mga nanay dahil nagka-infection. Okay? O ano yun? Nagka-infection sa kanilang puwerta. Okay, during delivery kasi nga 'di ba minsan yung mga doktor during that time, ano din farmer din kung or hindi pa sila masyadong familiar with PPE, with sterilization. They're not very strict with that during that time. So ang daming mga patients na nag-undergo ng surgery na namatay. Okay? Ang pinakamataas na cases ay yung sa mga babaeng kapapanganak, no? Dahil nagka-puerperal fever. Okay? And then we have Joseph Lister. Uh, he actually made use of the chemical phenol, no, to prevent surgical wound infections. So lahat ng mga lahat ng mga gamit for surgery, dinidisinfect with phenol. However, no, later, no, after later than 1860, okay, so na-realize nilang hindi maganda yung phenol. Although it's quite effective in killing microbes, it's too uh, harsh, no, for human skin and human tissue. Okay, nakaka-irritate siya. So, tawag nito, hindi na nila ginamit, pinalitan nila ng iba, okay? Or dinisolve nila siya, okay? And then what else? Trivia. Okay, so sa pangalan niya nagmula yung pangalan ng napakasikat na mouthwash. Okay? Si Listerine. Okay? And then, ano pa? Sino pa ba? Later, no, much later, decades after Bassi discovered the fungal infection in silkworm, ay naging active na naman ang isa pang Robert. This time, si Robert Koch. Okay? Hindi daw Koch. Koch daw. Okay? So, si Robert Koch experimented, no, so many times just to prove, no, na yung microbes can indeed cause infection and may kill. Okay? So he created the experimental steps known as the postulates, okay, to prove that a specific microbe causes a specific disease. So it's not actually the wrath of God or demonic possession. So it's a specific microbe, no, na nag-cause nung specific infection. Ayan. Okay? So, Cook actually also was able to contribute in identifying some bacteria like Vibrio cholerae, siyang naka-discover niyan. The Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is the causative agent for TB, no? Siya din yan. And Bacillus anthracis, which is the agent of anthrax, no? Which is also a uh, uh, select agent, no, that can be used for biowarfare. Okay? So ano ba yung mga Koch's postulates? Okay? So the steps that he did were really simple. So he took a dead rat, got a sample from its heart, no? So heart blood ang kinuha niya. He inoculated the blood sample on a culture media, allowed that to allow the culture media to be incubated for some time, and then na-discover niya na, aba, may tumubo. Okay? So those things that were able to grow on the surface of the culture media are called colonies. So he examined those, he got one, placed it on a glass slide, and he examined it microscopically. And he noted every single detail na nakita niya. So, yung colony, nirecord niya yung itsura, and then microscopically, nirecord niya kung ano yung nakita niya. He got a sample, no, from a colony here, and then he emulsified it and injected it into a live animal. Okay? So, he observed the live animal after inoculation. Nung namatay yung animal, he did the steps that he was able to perform with the first animal. So, kumuha siya ng sample, he inoculated it or planted it on plated media, and then, nung may tumubo na, tinignan niya ulit under the microscope. And he compared, no? He compared his findings here with his findings here. And then, it was technically similar, no? So ito yung mga steps na kanyang tinawag as Koch's postulates. Okay? However, Koch's postulates may not work for all organisms. There are exceptions. And what are these? No? So the exceptions are that number one, many healthy people carry the pathogens, but they may not exhibit symptoms of the disease. Di ba we have carriers? They may look normal. They may not look as if they're diseased, pero they have the microorganisms. So how will we identify them kung ganun sila, no? Unless they submit their samples. Okay? What else? Some microbes are very difficult or impossible to grow on artificial media because there are some microbes that are obligate intracellular. They would require living cells for growth, like viruses, for example. Okay, we can culture them, like Mycobacterium leprae. Okay, the agent of leprosy. We cannot culture that on artificial media. We need live animals in order to cultivate them. Okay, so hindi mag-work yung Koch's postulates for those types. What else? To induce a disease from a pure culture, the experimental animal must be susceptible to the pathogen. Ito pa, eh? We can't ensure na yung ating second animal is susceptible to the pathogen. Pwedeng resistant na siya dati because of its genetic makeup. Di ba? And then, certain diseases develop only when opportunistic pathogen invades a weakened host. So there are some organisms that can only cause infections in people with weak immune systems. Okay? So may mga exceptions tayong ganyan for the Koch's postulates. But generally, it may work for most microbes. Okay? What else? What is the other uh, mm, milestone for the golden age of microbiology? So we have here the introduction of the process known as vaccination. Okay. So it is thanks to this particular process that a lot of us are immune, no, to a wide range of bacterial and viral infection. So it was Edward Jenner, no, who introduced us to this process. So sa kanya was the smallpox. Okay? So we were able to eradicate smallpox from the technique or the process that he did. Okay? So ayan, nakikita naman natin sa picture, si James Phipps, no? Young boy, I think around 8 or 10 years old. Kapitbahay niya. Okay, pinag-initan niya. Oh, napansin niya kasi na marami, no, in neighboring villages nagka-smallpox na. Okay? And then merong milkmaid, named Sarah. So napansin niya na Sarah usually goes back and forth from the village na maraming may smallpox. Tapos dun sa kanila, na-notice na wala, parang unaffected si Sarah. So nag-interview siya, anong nangyari kay Sarah. So sabi ni Sarah, she had an infection that may be similar to smallpox. What Sarah had was cowpox. Kasi nga, di ba, milkmaid siya. And cowpox viruses are usually zoonotic yan in origin, no? Sa mga baka talaga yan, sa tits ng baka. So, dahil exposed siya doon, nagkasakit siya ng cowpox before. Okay? So, ang ginawa ni Edward, humingi siya ng sample ni Sarah at inintroduce na yun dun sa kay James. Okay? Kay James Phipps. Okay? So, James Phipps, the mom, no, the mother of James Phipps, was told to observe the boy. So overnight, parang medyo may slight fever lang si James. But he overcame that, no? And then several days later, okay na siya. And he was unaffected by smallpox, no? So doon nag-umpisa yung beginnings of our journey in eradicating smallpox. So ngayon, 'di ba? Eradicated na talaga ang smallpox. Okay? So what we got from that particular process is the protection called immunity. Okay? So the birth of modern chemotherapy. So of course, one of the most important milestones in the golden era of microbiology is when we discovered that we can actually create uh, drugs, no? Drugs with purpose, no, na panggamot, okay, hindi pangpahay. Okay, so chemotherapy is the process of treating infections with the use of chemicals or chemotherapeutic agents. Now, chemotherapeutic agents can be synthetic or natural, o yung mga tinatawag nating antibiotics. One of the earliest chemotherapeutic agent was used to counteract or to treat malaria, which is quinine, no, an extract of a tree bark. Okay, and then later, around 1910, Paul Ehrlich developed salvarsan, which is a derivative of arsenic. So synthetic form of ano naman 'to, of chemotherapeutic agent, okay? By 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin, okay? How? He accidentally discovered it. I-inoculate siya for bacterial culture, okay? Ayan, nagpa-plant siya, so nag-streak siya ng kanyang sample, tapos ayun yung bacteria. Pero nagulat siya, may kakaibang tumubo doon, no? May tumubong iba, kakaiba. 'Di ba ito yung colony ng bacteria, pero ito kakaiba. What caught his interest was, can you guess what it is that caught his interest? He found this area. Look at that. Okay? An area where walay mitubo na bacteria, no? May zone of inhibition, meaning there must be something coming from here that inhibited microorganisms to grow around it. Okay? So, yun yung kinuha niya, yun tuloy imbes na ito yung pag-aralan niya, ito na tuloy ngayon yung, naging focus niya. So, he tested, no, this particular organism. So, it's a Penicillium colony, no, the fungi Penicillium. Okay? Previously, it was Penicillium notatum, but later they renamed that into Penicillium chrysogenum. Okay? So, by 1940s, no, so pinag-aralan, 20 years later, okay, penicillin was tested clinically and was mass-produced. Okay? Prior, yung sulfonamides, which are chemical antimicrobial agents, na-synthesize na rin sila. Okay? So, during this time, no, nagkaroon na ng divisions yung ating microbiology. So the focus is divided into the study of bacteria. So you have bacteriology, the study of fungi or mycology, the study of parasites or parasitology, the study of algae or phycology, and of course, the study of viruses or virology. Okay? Asa man di ko ano ay. Okay. So, kasi nga 'di ba mas maganda yung may focus tayo instead of studying everything. So, by organism ang cover. Okay? Para yung expertise mas madaling makuha. Okay? And then of course, a lot of other scientists contributed to the study. Okay? We have here Rebecca Lansfield, who proposed the use of immunology to identify bacteria according to serotypes. Kasi nga, daghan na kaayo, like Streptococcus, for example. So it's a large group of gram-positive organism with slight differences. So how are we able to differentiate them? So it was Dr. Lansfield who introduced to us the serological aspects of identifying bacteria. Okay? And then we have Paulberg who introduced us to recombinant DNA. No? And then after nun ay ipinanganak na yung mga biotechnology. Okay, so uh, we now have genetic engineering, gene therapy, we have genetically modified organisms, gaya niyan, no? Look at that. Native tomatoes and genetically modified tomatoes. Eh, yung mga nakikita natin sa mga commercial ng burger, ang lalaki ng mga tomatoes, ang laki na nung burger bun. Oh, ayan. Mga genetically modified organisms. I think potatoes, no, were among the first uh, food na ano nila, no, na or plant, eh, na they tested for GMO. And it was successful, actually. That's why in the US, ang kanilang mga French fries doon, singhahaba ng mga lapis natin. Di ba? Oh, yung sa atin, cute lang. Okay, pero ang haba ng mga ano nila. Di ba, ang potatoes niya, ang lalaki naman. So, kaya ang fries nila ang hahaba din. Okay? Pero, genetically modified. Okay? What else? Bioremediation. Okay. So, bioremediation is a science, no, of making use of the microbes around us in cleaning, no, our environment, no. So, whatever is present in the environment na hindi kaaya-aya or toxic, maybe degraded, no, using microbes like Nitrosomonas europaea, Nitrobacter hamburgensis, you know, and then we also have Paracoccus denitrificans, mga ganung klaseng ginagamit nila na organisms in bioremediation to clean mga wastewater. Ayan, no? So, pwedeng gamitin yan. Okay? Pang ano, pang ah, tawag nito, in the removal of nitrogen, no, sa wastewater. So, pwedeng-pwedeng gamitin itong dalawang ito. Okay? You can look them up, okay? Kung ano yung mga uses of these two specific organisms in bioremediation. Okay? And then of course, we have biologic insecticides. Okay? So meron na tayo ng mga plants ngayon where they were already injected with uh, structures of microorganisms like those coming from Bacillus thuringiensis, no? So si thuringiensis meron siyang property, that's anti-pest, no? Or anti-worm. So mahuhulog na parang genetically modified. Like for example, this corn, ano siya parang genetically modified na meron na siyang inborn property nung Bacillus thuringiensis that would kill etong mga corn borer na 'to, no, yung mga uod o parang mga caterpillar na nagiging pests sa crops. So, 'di ba napaka-helpful, no? We can get rid of pests like this without having to use insecticides, which are actually harmful for our environment. Okay, so that ends our lecture one. Okay, so hope that you will be able to um, review, no, the video. I'd like you to read on superbugs, no? Um, if you can, no, identify at least two or three, okay, mga emerging pathogens, emerging bacterial pathogens, and superbugs. Okay? So, read lang. Okay, salamat sa pagpaminaw. Hope that you will be able to pass our uh, assessment on lecture 1 and lecture 2 next meeting.